All right, section 3 of Mice and Men. Everybody ready? Although there was evening brightness showing through the windows of the bunkhouse, inside it was dusk. Through the open door came the thuds and occasional clangs of a horseshoe game, and now and then the sound of voices raised in approval or derision. Slim and George came into the darkening bunkhouse together. Slim reached up over the card table and turned on the tin-shaded electric light. Instantly, the table was brilliant with light, and the cone of the shade threw its brightness straight downward, leaving the corners of the bunkhouse still in dusk. Slim sat down on a box, and George took his place opposite. "It wasn't nothing," said Slim. "I would have had to drown most of 'em anyways. No need to thank me about that," George said. "It wasn't much to you, maybe, but it was a hell of a lot to him. Jesus Christ, I don't know how we're going to get him to sleep in here. He'll want to sleep right out there in the barn with him. We'll have trouble keeping him from getting in the box right with the pups." "It wasn't nothing," Slim repeated. "Say, you sure were right about him. Maybe he ain't bright, but I never seen such a worker. He damn near killed his partner, bucking barley. There ain't nobody can keep up with him. God almighty, I never seen such a strong guy." George spoke proudly. "Just tell Lenny what to do, and he'll do it if it don't take no figuring. He can't think of nothing to do himself, but he sure can take orders." There was a clang of horseshoe on iron stake outside and a little cheer of voices. Slim moved back slightly to the light, so the light was not on his face. "Funny how you and him string along together." It was Slim's calm invitation of confidence. "What's funny about it?" George demanded defensively. "Oh, I don't know. Hardly none of the guys ever traveled together. I hardly never seen two guys travel together. You know how the hands are. They just come in and get their bunk and work a month, and then they quit and go out alone. Never seem to give a damn about nobody. Just seems kind of cuckoo. Seems kind of funny, a cuckoo like him and a smart guy like you just traveling together." "He ain't no cuckoo," said George. "He's dumb as hell, but he ain't crazy. And I ain't so bright neither, or I wouldn't be bucking barley for 15 pound. If I was bright, I'd have a little bit start. I'd have my own little place, and I'd be bringing in my own crops, set out doing all the work and not getting what comes up out of that ground." George fell silent. He wanted to talk. Slim neither encouraged or discouraged him. He just sat back and was quiet and receptive. "It ain't so funny, him and me going around together," George said at last. "Him and me was born in Auburn. I knowed his Aunt Clara. She took him up when he was a baby and raised him. When his Aunt Clara died, Lenny just come along with me out working. Got kind of used to each other after a little while. And if I were a kid in Miss Sandusky's English class, I would be taking notes on Lenny and George's history on my Cornell notes that I'm supposed to have out whenever we read the story." Said Slim. George looked over at Slim and saw the calm, godlike eyes fasten on him. "Funny," said George. "I used to have a hell of a lot of fun with him. Used to play jokes on him because he was too dumb to take care of himself, but he was too dumb to even know that he had a joke played on him. I had fun. Made me seem goddamn smart alongside of him. Why, he'd do any damn thing I told him. If I told him to walk over a cliff, over he'd go. There wasn't a damn much fun after that, after a while. He never got mad about it neither. I beat the hell out of him, and he could have bust up every bone in my body just with his hands, but he never lifted a finger against me." George's voice was taking on the tone of confession. "Tell you what made me stop that."
Pardon the interruption. We need the following seniors to report to the big gym. So please bear with me there.
"Tell you what made me stop that. One day, a bunch of guys was standing around up on the Sacramento River. I was feeling pretty smart. I turns to Lenny and I says, 'Jump in.' And he jumps. Couldn't swim a stroke. He damn near drowned before we could get him. And he was so damn nice for me to pulling him back out. He clean forgot that I told him to jump in. I ain't done nothing like that no more." "Hell of a nice fella," said Slim. "Guy don't need no sense to be a nice fella. Seems to me sometimes it just works the other way around. Take a real smart guy, and he ain't hardly ever a nice fella." George stacked the scattered cards and began to lay out a solitaire hand. The shoes thudded on the ground outside. At the windows, the light of the evening still made the window squares bright. "I ain't got no people," George said. "I seen the guys that go around on the ranches alone. They ain't no good. They don't have no fun. After a long time, they get mean. They get wanting to fight all the time." "Yeah, they get mean," Slim agreed. "They get so they don't want to talk to nobody." "Of course, Lenny's a goddamn nuisance most of the time," said George, "but You get used to going around with a guy and you can't get rid of him. He ain't mean, said Slim. I can see Lenny ain't a bit mean. Of course he ain't mean. But he gets in trouble all the time because he's so goddamn dumb. Like, what happened to weed? He stopped in the middle of turning over a card and looked alarmed and peered over at Slim. You wouldn't tell nobody? What'd he do in weed? Slim asked calmly. You wouldn't tell? No, of course you wouldn't. What'd he do in weed? Slim asked again. Well, he seen this girl in a red dress. Dumb bastard like he is, he wants to touch everything he likes, just wants to feel it. So he reaches out to feel that red dress and the girl lets out a squawk. And that gets Lenny all mixed up and he holds on because that's the only thing that he can think to do. Well, this girl squawks and squawks. I was just a little bit off and I heard all the yelling, so as I come running. By the time that Lenny's so scared, all he can think to do is just hold on. I socked him over the head with a fence picket to make him let go. He was so scared he couldn't let go of that dress. And he's so goddamn strong, you know. Slim's eyes were level and unwinking. He nodded very slowly. So what happens? George carefully built his line of solitaire cards. Well, that girl rabbits in and tells the law that she's been raped. The guys in weed start a party out to lynch Lenny. So we sit in an irrigation ditch underwater all the rest of that day. Got only our heads sticking out from the other side of the ditch, and that night we screamed out of there. Slim sat in silence for a moment. Didn't hurt the girl none, huh? He asked finally. Hell no, he just scared her. I'd be scared too if he grabbed me, but he never hurt her. He just wanted to touch that red dress like he wants to pet them pups all the time. He ain't mean, said Slim. I can tell a mean guy a mile off. Of course he ain't. He'll do any damn thing that I... Lenny came in through the door. He wore his blue denim coat over his shoulders like a cape, and he walked hunched over. Hi, Lenny, said George. How you like that pup now? Lenny said breathlessly, Oh, he's brown and white just like I wanted. He went directly to his bed, and he lay down and turned his face to the wall and drew up his knees. George put down his cards very deliberately. Lenny, he said sharply. Lenny twisted his neck and looked over his shoulder. Huh? What you want, George? I told you. You couldn't bring that pup in here. What pup, George? I ain't got no pup. George went quickly over to him, grabbed him by the shoulder, and rolled him over. He reached down and picked up the tiny puppy from where Lenny had been concealing it against his stomach. Lenny sat up quickly. Oh, give him to me, George. George said, You get right up out of here and you take that pup back to the nest. He's got to sleep with his mother. You want to kill him? Just born last night. You take him out of the nest. You take him back or I'll tell Slim not to let him give you one. Lenny held out his hands pleadingly. Give him to me, George. I'll take him back. I didn't mean no harm, George. Honest, I didn't. I just wanted to pet him a little bit. George handed the pup to him. All right, you get him back there quick. And don't you take him out no more. You'll kill him, first thing that you know. Lenny fairly scuttled out of the room. Slim had not moved. His calm eyes followed Lenny out the door. Jesus, he said. He's just like a kid, ain't he? Sure, he's just like a kid. There ain't no more harm in him than there is a kid neither, except he's so strong. I bet he won't come in here to sleep tonight. He'll sleep right alongside that box in the barn. Well, let him. He ain't doing no harm out there. It was almost dark outside now. Old Candy, the swamper, came in and went to his bunk, and behind him struggled his old dog. Hello, Slim. Hello, George. Didn't either of you play horseshoes? I don't like to play every night, said Slim. Candy went on. Either you guys got a slug of whiskey, I got a gut ache. I ain't, said Slim. I'd drink it myself if I had, and I ain't got no gut ache neither. Got a bad gut ache, said Candy. Them goddamn turnips gave it to me. I know they was going to before I even eat them. The thick-bodied Carlson came in out of the darkening yard. He walked to the other side of the bunkhouse and turned in the second shaded light. Darker than hell in here, he said. Jesus, how that Negro can pitch some shoes. He's plenty good, said Slim. Damn right he is, said Carlson. He don't give nobody else a chance to win. And he stopped and he sniffed the air. Still sniffing, he looked down at the old dog. God almighty, that dog stinks. Get him out of here, Candy. I don't want nothing that stinks as bad as that old dog. You got to get him out. Candy rolled to the edge of his bunk. He reached over, patted the ancient dog, and he apologized. I've been around him so much I never noticed how he stinks. Well, I can't stand him in here, said Carlson. That stink hangs around even after he's gone. He walked over with his heavy-legged stride and looked down at the dog. Got no teeth, he said. He's all stiff with rheumatism. He ain't no good to you, Candy, and ain't no good to himself. Why don't you shoot him, Candy? The old man squirmed uncomfortably. Well, hell, I had him so long. Had him since he was a pup. I herded sheep with him, he said proudly. You wouldn't think it to look at him now, but he's the best damn sheepdog I ever seen, George said. I seen a guy in Weed that had an Airedale could herd sheep. Learned it from the other dogs. Okay, so let's talk about